I never expected to see him there, holding a champagne glass like the universe itself had handed him this perfect scene to flaunt in front of me. And yet, I did me first love, the boy I had loved in silence for years, now grinning at someone else at my best friend's wedding. I swallowed hard, pretending the twist in my stomach was excitement instead of the familiar ache of heartbreak. It wasn't just any heartbreak, though. This wedding, bathed in the golden glow of a late American afternoon, had already started its parade of awkward smiles, forced laughter, and endless toasts. But nothing prepared me for the moment he glanced across the hall and his eyes locked with mine, the recognition clear but shadowed by something darker. My pulse hammered like a drum in my ears. I was rooted to the spot, a mixture of nostalgia and longing clawing its way up my chest. Then, unexpectedly, another presence invaded my carefully maintained equilibrium. His brother, tall, impossibly confident, his black hair perfectly slicked back, eyes like polished onyx catching the light from the chandeliers above. He didn't smile at furs that didn't need to. That smirk that slowly formed on his lips was enough to make my knees weak. The way he carried himself spoke of control, danger, and the subtle promise of chaos. Somehow, he had stepped into the room and immediately made the entire air around him feel heavier, magnetic. I tried to keep my distance. I reminded myself that this wasn't a scene from one of the romance movies I watched alone on rainy nights. But then his gaze found mine, sharp and teasing, and suddenly every excuse I had invented for myself disappeared. I could feel the slow pull toward him, like gravity had decided to rewrite its laws just for this moment. "You're staring," he said, his voice smooth, teasing, but with an underlying authority that made my chest tighten. I faltered, my words failing, because no excuse would explain the tidal wave of confusion and attraction crashing over me. He stepped closer, not threateningly, but close enough that I could smell the faint scent of his cologne, a mixture of cedarwood and something spicy that made my head spin. "It's okay," he said softly, almost like he could read the chaotic thoughts bouncing around in my brain. And then, almost imperceptibly, he brushed a strand of hair from my face, his fingers lingering too long, leaving a trail of warmth that I could feel long after he pulled away. I wanted to run. I wanted to stay. Every instinct inside me screamed in contradiction. And yet, I couldn't take my eyes off him. There was a certain cruelty in the timing of life that made my heart ache. My first love standing so close, yet unreachable, while his brother unexpected, forbidden was slowly taking up residence in the space between my chest and ribs. The wedding continued around us, but it felt as if the world had shrunk, focusing only on our silent, unspoken conversation. He tilted his head, eyes dark and searching, and asked the question I had never dared to voice aloud. "Do you remember the summer by the lake?" The memory hit me like a tidal wave. Hot sun on my back, laughter that had felt like music, his brother there too, teasing and playful, always in the shadows, always watching. And yet, despite the memories of my first love, it was his brother who had left an indelible mark, one I had never been willing to acknowledge. I do," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "Good," he said, and there was a glimmer of something softer behind the confident exterior, something that hinted at vulnerability only I seemed allowed to see. Because some things are meant to be remembered, and some things meant to be found again. I swallowed hard, my heart caught between a past that had always belonged to someone else and a present that was dangerously, irresistibly his. I wanted to deny the way my chest heated when his gaze lingered, wanted to resist the magnetic pull toward him, but every attempt at self-control felt laughably futile. By the time the last toast rang out and the music began to hum through the ballroom, I realized that nothing in my life had prepared me for this collision of hearts. The irony was cruel. I had loved one brother, yet another was stealing the very air from my lungs with every glance, every subtle touch, every deliberate brush against my arm. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying and exhilarating. Love didn't follow rules. It didn't wait for the perfect timing. It demanded surrender. And maybe, just maybe, I was ready to surrender. The reception was winding down, the clinking of glasses replaced by soft murmurs and the faint echo of the DJ packing up. I found myself lingering near the balcony, the cool night air brushing against my skin, trying to sort out the storm of emotions swirling inside me. And there he was, his brother leaning against the railing, staring at the city lights below. Somehow, even in this quiet, his presence was overwhelming. "You came out here too?" I said, trying to sound casual, but my voice betrayed me with a slight tremor. He turned, and that smirk appeared again, softer this time, almost vulnerable. "I figured you might need a break from the chaos." He gestured vaguely toward the now emptying ballroom. "Or maybe you just needed me." I swallowed, feeling my heartbeat slam against my ribcage. I didn't respond immediately, afraid that speaking would shatter the fragile thread of connection hanging between us. Instead, I took a tentative step closer, drawn to him like a moth to flame. "You're different," I said finally, the words spilling out before I could filter them. "I mean, I knew you were always intense, but this is something else." He chuckled, low and rich, the sound vibrating in the quiet night. "I've always been intense. You just never noticed." His eyes softened, scanning mine as if trying to memorize every detail. "Or maybe you just weren't ready to see me." My chest tightened. There was truth in his words I couldn't deny. For years, I had clung to the image of my first love, holding on to what-ifs and maybes, all the while ignoring the boy who had been silently watching, silently caring, silently waiting. And now, standing here under the night sky, I realized the truth. He had always been here, and I had finally noticed. The city lights reflected in his eyes, making them look impossibly deep. And then, without a word, he closed the small distance between us. His hand brushed mine, tentative at first, then lingering, sending a shock of warmth straight to my core. The world seemed to shrink, leaving only the two of us suspended in a bubble of tension, desire, and something tender I couldn't name. "Can I?" he asked, his voice a mere whisper. I nodded, too breathless to speak. And then he leaned in, the gentle press of his lips against mine igniting a spark that had been smoldering for years. It was soft, exploratory at first, but soon deepened with a need that matched the longing in my chest. Everything I thought I knew about love, about desire, about heartache, condensed into this single, electrifying moment. We pulled back slightly, foreheads resting together, breaths mingling. "I never forgot," he murmured. "Even when I saw you with him, I never stopped thinking about you." A shiver ran down my spine. The confession, the vulnerability hidden beneath his confident exterior, shattered every wall I had built around my heart. I think I've been waiting for you too," I admitted, voice trembling but honest. "I just didn't know it until now." The wind picked up, tugging at our hair, and for a moment, I imagined we could stand there forever, suspended between past regrets and future possibilities. Then he smiled, that irresistible, slightly mischievous smile, and said, "Then let's not waste any more time." We moved together, our hands entwined, stepping away from the balcony's edge and back toward the softly lit streets below. The world seemed impossibly vast yet intimate all at once, as if the universe had orchestrated this chance for us to finally collide. Every step, every glance, every small brush of skin against skin carried the weight of years of unspoken feelings, stolen glances, and quiet longing. When we reached a quiet street lined with softly glowing lampposts, he stopped and turned to me, lifting my chin gently with one hand. "I want to know you," he said, his eyes searching mine. "All of you. Not just the parts you show the world. Not just the parts you thought you lost." My heart clenched. There was no pretense in his gaze, no games, just an open, daring invitation to let go, to trust, to finally be seen. "You will?" I whispered, a small laugh escaping me as tears prickled at the corners of my eyes. "I've been waiting, and maybe I was too afraid to admit it." He smiled, and in that smile, I saw patience, fire, and the promise of something beautiful. "Then we start now," he said simply. And so we walked, side by side, the night wrapping around us like a soft blanket, the city stretching endlessly in every direction. There was no rush, no need for grand gestures or declarations. Just two hearts, finally aligned, finding comfort in each other's presence. Every brush of his hand, every shared laugh, every quiet glance told a story more powerful than any vow or speech ever could. For the first time in years, I felt free. Free from the shadows of the past, free from longing for someone who could never be mine, free to embrace the warmth, intensity, and tenderness of the boy who had quietly loved me all along. We paused under a street lamp, the golden glow bathing us in soft light. He reached for my hand, fingers curling around mine with perfect ease. "We have a lot of time," he said, his voice low, steady, full of certainty. "But tonight we just exist. Just us." I smiled, heart swelling with a mix of relief, excitement, and something deeper I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. "Just us," I echoed, and under the vast American sky, with the city lights flickering like distant stars, I finally understood the meaning of love. It wasn't about possession or timing or firsts. It was about presence, about courage, and about surrendering to the person who made your heart both ache and soar. He leaned in, kissing me again, slower this time, savoring every moment as if memorizing it for eternity. And I kissed back, letting go of fear, letting go of doubt, letting myself be fully, unapologetically, alive. Somewhere behind us, the wedding lights dimmed, fading into the distance. But in that quiet street, under the watchful gaze of the stars and the city, two hearts found each other, lost and then rediscovered, finally home. And for the first time, love didn't hurt. It only promised everything. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.